and welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Monika and this is episode 20. I'll start with what I'm wearing. This is a self-drafted pattern, one of my very first experiments when it came to when it comes to making sweaters. I'm just calling it my lilac or my purple sweater. And this sweater is a top-down raglan with this raglan increases here that continues under the arm, and you might be able to see that they continue down to a point and goes all the way down. So yeah, as I said, this sweater was an experiment. It's knit out of Sandnes Garn Double Sunday in the colorway Lilac. I must admit, I'm not happy with the result. I've been trying to fix it several times. In the beginning it was a blue and purple sweater, but the contrast between the blue and the purple were too high, so I ended up ripping out the blue, but because I had very limited amount of purple, I had to do some shaping of the sweater to try and still have enough to actually have a proper sweater. But that ended up with a lot of fabric here under the arm, but not a lot in the arms or in the body. And overall, I mean, it was the best I could do with what I had, but if I would knit this again, I would have ripped out the entire thing and started from scratch. But considering I'm not a very big fan of how this yarn holds up when I've been frogging it several times, I don't think I would have ended up with a finished sweater if I did that. So yeah, I decided I wanted to wear it today because today is the first time it is a proper finished object. Last time the collar was too tight, so I had to rip it out and bind it off again, so I would actually be able to get it over my head. The hem is still a bit too tight. Not so tight that I can't wear it, but it doesn't look quite correct. But since now that I put it on and I kind of know all the things I feel about it, I know it will eventually just be put in the closet, and when I finally feel like I can part with it, I will donate it. This will not be a permanent part of my wardrobe. Though I do think I like this color. I think it suits me quite well. So it's very nice that I bought a tiny bit darker lilac that I showed last time. And I think that will be quite a nice sweater in the end. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing. And I can start with some of my whips. I don't have any finished objects to show this week, though I do have a lot of progress to show. But I think since I started with such a disappointment with what I'm wearing, I can show you a different disappointment that I have. These are my green and mustard colored socks. They're striped. These are made out of Filcolana Pernilla, which is not sock yarn. There's no nylon in them. They're not reinforced. And because of that, I have had to mend them quite a few times already. And then between last week and now, I saw that I had to mend them again. And I was really excited to try a new technique. And the technique in itself did actually work out quite well. I didn't finish it because at some point I realized that I also had a hole down here. And I was like, you know what? I've been mending these so many times. I think it's about time I just let them go, and even though I love them, just throw them out. The hole that had ended up on the heel was actually very, very big. I don't know how much you can see, but this entire part from here to down here was just one big hole. And I was really surprised that I hadn't actually noticed it, because I checked them every day at the end of the day and in the morning before I put them on. So it was like, was that really all happening in one day? I know it was a very hard wearing day, because I wore them inside my shoes an entire day and I was on my feet most of the day. But yeah, a bit sad that I have to let them go, but that is part of knitting, sadly. If you actually want to wear your stuff, you have to realize that eventually it's gonna get worn out. And I have gotten like more than a year's worth of wear out of these ones, so it's not a tragic loss, though it is quite sad. Yeah, I'm just gonna put these here. Yeah. Talking about socks, I can just keep going. I have a pair of vanilla socks that I'm knitting. These ones are knit out of Strikketante Anita Strikketante. I think it's Anita Strikketante. And this colorway is 172. They don't have color names, just numbers. And I really do like this yarn. It's very comfortable to knit with. It knits up beautifully. This is just so pretty. I don't know how easy it is to see. I really do enjoy the slip stitch heel, even though I don't like knitting heels. So I have knit a few rounds on this sock since last time. The other one I don't think I've touched at all. So yeah. These have been a staple in my knitting since I cast them on. It's not that long ago. I'm desperately trying to get these finished so I can start a pair of Under the Oak socks. Under the Oak socks are my own pattern, and because I just realized I wore out the green and mustard colored striped socks, I'm kind of missing a pair of warm woolen socks, and the season is kind of like waning, I guess. So I might not have so much time left in the season to wear woolen socks, but I do know that if I don't knit a pair now, I will not have a pair ready when the fall comes, and I might wear a hole in the pairs I have, because at the moment I only have one pair of socks, and it is a pair of Under the Oak socks. I'm wearing them at the moment, so I don't want to show them. So yeah, I really have to get going on that pair of socks, but I didn't want to start that before I'm done with these socks. So that's the plan. Get these off the needles as fast as possible so I can get going with a pair of Under the Oak socks for myself. Last pair of Under the Oak socks I knit for my sister-in-law. She has not gotten them yet. I don't know when I'm going to meet her. Hopefully I'll see her this weekend, but I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, this week, or rather last week, after I'd filmed the podcast and everything, I mentioned in the last podcast that I wanted to bring out all of my hibernating whips, which I say all of them, there are two. So I did, and I fixed the issue I had with one of them, just so when I did show them now, I would be like ready to go and just run for the hills, I guess. So yeah, this is a saddle, shoulder, rag and construction-ish sweater I'm making. It's a summer sweater, and the yarn is Strikkekista Potensial in the colorway Lollipop, which is 50% superwash merino and 50% silk, and it's super thin. It's 600 meters per 100 grams, so it's like thinner than fingering. I think it's like lace weight, and it does produce the most beautiful fabric, and it's super lightweight, and it's just super good and squishy and everything, and I love it. But of course, since I'm knitting on so small needles, these are 2.5, I think, 2.5 millimeter. Yeah, 2.5 millimeter needles. It takes ages. And this past week, I think I actually knit like 2 rounds. 1 round. Almost 2 rounds. Because I stopped here, and the marker for when the row is over here. So I knit almost 2 rounds. This was not my priority this week. It was just because I took it out and I fixed the collar, because when I put this away, I had knit the collar and wrapped it down and tacked it down on the inside, but I had tacked it down too tight, so I wasn't able to get it over my head. Now it is super stretchy. It will not be a problem at all. As you can see, that's probably a recurring problem for me. But yeah, I just wanted to fix that before I showed it, or else it would just end up lingering on the basket again. So yeah, this is my own design. I have this very nice saddle shoulder part here at the top, and then down here, when I have increased enough for the body, I have started doing increases for the arms. Down here. And the reason for that is, of course, I need enough space for my arms, but also I really did like this construction. I think it's quite pretty. I think it will be quite fun. And this pattern actually I have already written up. I'm now just following it to make sure that the measurements that I calculated are correct. So this pattern will be released, but probably not until I'm done with the sweater. And if I do want to release it as a summer pattern, I should probably get going on this one and get it done. So those who would like to knit it could. I am very, very pleased. This turned out really well. I mean, I'm not done yet, but the part that I have gotten done, super happy with. In the camera this looks very orange, but in real life it is very deep red, very purpley, got some very nice pink details in here. It's, yeah, very much my color. Orange is not my color. This red very much is my color. So yeah, I really do look forward to getting this one done. Though it is a slow project, it will take me a long, long time to get it done. But the yarn is amazing, and it's so, like, how do I say that in English? Dryg? That's not a good translation. This is the first ball of yarn, which was 100 grams when I started, and I'm like, got all of this out of it. It's so much, it's so good. So yeah, I am super happy. I did some very nice shaping of the collar before I joined it in the round, And I'm very pleased with that. It turned out great. So yeah. I'm putting this away, or else I won't stop talking about it. So this was one of the projects that have been hibernating, but now are out and about again. Then the last hibernating project I will show last, because it's in the bottom of my knitting basket at the moment. My knitting basket is very full because I usually don't have all my projects in one spot. So yeah, the next project is one you haven't seen in a little while. Not as long as the hibernating projects, but more like a few weeks at least. So yeah. This is my cabled knit sweater. I picked this up last night actually. Because I wanted a change from the project I had been working on. Mostly because the other green sweater I had come to a specific point that I will show you later, which just meant I had to do some choices. And I just wasn't quite mentally ready to make any choices. So I picked up my green cable knit sweater. This is my own design. This is the second time I'm knitting this pattern. The other one is it's not white, but it's like light colored variegated yarn. This one is dark because I wanted a dark green cabled sweater. I wanted that when you looked at it from afar you couldn't quite see what was going on, but as you got closer you could see the details. And I am very pleased. It's worked out quite well. I had stopped working on it for quite a while because I realized that I bought 5 skeins of this yarn. This yarn is Rille thick merino in the colorway Misty Mountains. And the reason I stopped was I bought 5 skeins. 5 skeins with 100 grams each, so 500 grams. My other cable knit sweater I used approximately 450 grams. And this one I'm knitting a bit oversized, so I was thinking when I bought it like, oh, it's fine, it's gonna be okay. But after I did that, I started doing some modifications to the first sweater, and because I extended the arms a bit, I redid the collar, I even think I extended the body as like a tiny bit. And I do still have yarn left over from that last skein. But it's now less than 50 grams. I think it's more like 40, maybe even less than that. And now I started to get really worried that since I'm knitting this one in one size larger, that I wouldn't have enough. And Rille stopped dyeing for this color, and also lately she hasn't been dyeing this base, not the thick merino, she's only dyed the thin merino. So I was very worried that I would eventually have to just frog it because I wouldn't have enough. Though I wouldn't do that, I would have just ended up with like half sleeves or something. Which wasn't what I wanted initially, but it would have worked. But yeah, I ended up stressing myself so much that I didn't work on this, which is a bit sad. But now, since last week, I went to the yarn market, to a yarn market, and Rille was there, though she didn't have any thick merino and she didn't have this colorway, but I did buy a skein of hand-dyed yarn that's it's tonal, but it's tonal with the darkest green from this, so it will actually fit very well with this sweater. I think, yeah, it's this one. I'm not gonna pull it out, so yeah, you're just gonna believe me there. So I think if all else else fails, I will just use that yarn to do the collar and the cuffs on this one if I need it. I'll have to hold it double because that's thin and this is thick merino, but I now have a backup plan, which means I can just continue knitting on this one without being so stressed. So yeah, finally picked it up again. I have not knit a lot. I did knit like 2 rounds and then I realized that I had mixed up what row was a cable row. So I had cabled the row too early. And then I was contemplating on whether or not anyone would see it, and I was like, but it's like in the middle of the body and it's on the front. So I just went back and fixed it. So yeah. It's not, I haven't knit a lot, and but I have knit like 6 or 10 rows ish. Also, I'm using my very cute new stitch marker as the beginning of round marker, and it suits this yarn so well. So yeah, I'm very pleased. I'm glad I kind of started knitting on this one again. I have been missing cables and this has been a very enjoyable knit. So yeah, very nice. And yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about this at the moment. Trying to not make it fall over. So yeah, the thing that has taken up most of my knitting time this week has been my other green sweater. So yeah, this is way too big to show on camera. This is my textured sweater, and I am very, very pleased with how this is going. Though I did have a small round of panic last week. Yeah, it was last week, but a few days after I filmed the podcast, because I had knit the entire body, or almost the entire body, and I suddenly realized that all I had left over of the yarn, I thought I had more, was this skein and this. And this is obviously not enough for 2 sleeves. And I kind of panicked. So yeah. I was thinking, oh my god, I'm gonna have to transform this into a vest instead. I don't have enough yarn. Everything is terrible. And on a whim on Friday, I just decided, okay, you're not focusing properly, thank you. Let's, after work, let's just go to a local yarn store that's like a kilometer away from my work, a very short bus drive, and let's just see if they have this specific yarn and color. Maybe not the same dye lot, but at least the right color. And I went in and I saw they had 4 skeins, and I pulled it out of the shelf, and I was looking at the dye lot and thinking, that looks familiar. Could it be? So I brought it home. I bought it, brought it home, and I took these skeins. These are the ones I bought. And I took the bands on them and compared it to this one. Oops. And it turned out it was the same. So no reason to panic at all. I just bought 4 more skeins so I can knit both arms and the collar. So, panic averted. Though it was quite stressful for a little while. And I'm starting to realize that this is a reoccurring thing. I buy too little yarn. I am not as small as I used to be, so I have to remember to buy more yarn when I'm knitting sweaters. So yeah, but I am very, very pleased. The yarn is Sandnes Garn Smart in the colorway Sjøgrønn. And I must say, I am very happy. I really do love this texture. At the moment, of course, it is very bubbly and billowy because it wants to lay in a different way than it's going to do when it's done. I'm gonna block it into a very specific shape because of how I want the shoulders to be. So yeah, but it is so pretty and it's gonna look so good, and yeah, I can't wait to use it. But since I did end up stopping at this very convenient time when I just happened to be done with the body, I decided to just set it aside and do other things for a little while. Okay, come on. The colors get a bit weird between every time I pull this one up. So yeah, I don't know if I have anything more to say about this one specifically. Also a self-drafted pattern. Most of my patterns are, or most of the knitting I'm doing are self-drafted. This will also be a pattern I'm going to release. I just don't know when. But I have had a few friends of mine who have asked that I do release this pattern because they want to knit it. And I really do think this is going to be a super cozy sweater when it's done. So yeah, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up for the collar, and I'm going to pick up with a crochet hook to get it as nice and even as possible, but I couldn't be bothered doing that earlier this week. I'm going to have to figure out what ratio I'm going to pick up with. When you pick up along the row, you usually pick up every 2 out of 3 or every 5 out of 7 stitches. But I also have this part here where I have increased slightly, and I'm gonna have to figure out maybe, because at the front here I'm gonna pick up every stitch. But somewhere between every stitch and every 2/3 stitches will probably be correct. So maybe every 3 out of 4, just a slight increase, or maybe every 4 out of 5. I'm gonna have to do some math and also some trial and error probably, because I'm gonna see what looks good and not. And then I'm gonna include it in my pattern. So yeah, I do think that's all I have to say about this sweater. It's gonna be a bit oversized and very cozy. I already love it so much. Can't wait to use it. This one I will release, but probably not until the fall, because I feel like this type of pattern is a very fall pattern, though the coloring is kind of like a winter color in my eyes. I mean, I am a winter, so yeah, this is very much my color. Anyway, putting it away before I talk too much about it. Too late, some would say. So yeah, and I'm gonna put these needles away just so I remember where they are. I was trying to pick up the color with these ones, and then I realized I was way too tired at that point to pick up any color. So I just ripped out what I'd started doing and left it. Now I'm actually at my last whip. And this is the one that's been hibernating, which happens to end up at the very same spot as the other sweater. This is my sailor sweater, in my language matrosgenser, and I am very pleased with this one. I did try it on just a few days ago and it fits very well. And I am very excited to start picking off the sleeves, and I'm gonna try a different technique than I've done before, so I can continue the stripes without having like a line of one color around. I'm gonna pick up as I go. That's what I did with the shoulder shaping, so I think it's gonna be okay, though I'm probably gonna have to pick up at a more frequent pace, I guess, to try and avoid too much of like holes or whatever I'm gonna call it. On the back side you can see this line that kind of look like holes, but they're actually very thick and nice, so you can't like see through them, but you can clearly see where I picked up the stitches. And I kind of would like to avoid that with the arms. So yeah. I think I'm gonna try and like knit back and forth so I get this nice shoulder shaping thing. And then of course at some point I'm going to have to pick up under the arm. Maybe I'll be able to get it all the way under before I have to start connecting them, or like perhaps not all the way under. But this is why I need to just do some trial and error. The other alternative is picking up in one color and knitting like white for a while and then adding stripes again, but I don't want that. This was supposed to be a striped sweater and I want it to be a striped sweater. So yeah. This one is knit out of 2 different yarns. The turquoise one is Rauma MITU. I think the color is just called turquoise, but I'm not 100% certain. The white one is Viking Garn, Alpaca Storm. At least Storm. Yeah, I think it's Viking Garn, Alpaca Storm. In the colorway Natural White, I think. So yeah. I am very happy. I'm gonna have to look through my notes to figure out what needles I used, because since I'm done with the body of this one, I don't know. Though I do think I looked at my notes earlier today and it said either 3 or 3.5, which does quite look right, I think. So yeah, that's my last whip. I'm very happy. I'm very glad I took it out of hibernation now. I'm looking very much forward to knitting on it. Yeah. I'm very happy. Very pleased. So yeah. Yeah. I have a few more acquisitions. I didn't intend on buying any more yarn other than this yarn and the yarn that I had ordered online for the sweater for a friend of ours. But when I went into the store to buy this, right next to the counter, they had these beautiful hand-dyed skeins. And they were hand-dyed sock yarn. I think it was sock yarn. I really do hope I didn't buy something I can't. Yeah, no, this is sock yarn. Good. Which was why I wanted it, of course. I couldn't resist. I had already bought these yarns last week on the yarn market, but my local yarn shop usually don't have any hand-dyed yarn. And this was a hand-dyed yarn. Oh, actually I don't even think it is hand-dyed. Maybe it is commercially dyed, but they are variegated. And since it's sock yarn, I thought, you know what? I love it. I want it. So why not just go for it? So, they're all from the same brand. It's Meditating in Mumbai. All of them say hand wash at 30 degrees and, you know, don't use the washer or dryer, just do it by hand. Yeah, all of that. Where does the there's no names of the colors, there's just color numbers. So this one is 103, and I love this. It's green and brown and very deep, dark, moody colors, which is exactly what I like. And considering I know that this green down here at the bottom probably will end up in the sweater I was showing earlier, I really wanted this to kind of compensate for the fact that I didn't have socks, or won't have socks in this very nice green color. So that's one of the skins I bought. The other one is kind of matching. This one is color 102, and this one is blue and kind of like grey brownish. So it's kind of like the cool version of this, and it's just super pretty. I really, really love it. It's more brown than what shows up on camera. On camera it looks very, very cold, but it is a tiny bit warmer than what is shown. And I love it so much. I can't wait to knit up socks in these ones. I think it's a bit thicker than the other sock yarn, so perhaps these will be a bit more squishy than the hand-dyed sock yarn that I have. And the very last one, maybe it does say how many. No, it is actually the same length, but it does recommend bigger needles than the other one, so perhaps it is more squishy. This one is 104, so I have colorways 102, 103 and 104. And this one is super cool, like kind of like sea feeling, greenish blue. It's just it's so beautiful. And I love all the speckles. It makes it so much more interesting than if it was just one color. And yeah, I have fallen in love with hand-dyed yarn all over again. So much that actually I was watching a different podcast, Karen Knits. She's a very lovely lady. She's from Pennsylvania, I think. At least she lives there now. I don't think that's where she is originally from. I think perhaps she is Canadian. I'm not certain. I won't say for sure. But she hand dyes some yarns every year for, is it called Sock Madness? I think that's what it's called. I was a bit too late when I saw her video that she was going to there was this deadline to enter the competition, and I missed the deadline sadly, so I wasn't able to enter into Sock Madness, though I really do wish I had known, because now that I kind of really do like knitting socks, perhaps that would have been a bit fun. But anyway, she is now knitting furiously to qualify for the first or the second round. I'm not 100% certain. I don't remember if the first pair she showed was just a bonus pair or if that was the qualifying pair. Anyway, she has this tradition where she dyes up some yarn for herself for the Sock Madness competition, and oh, they looked so pretty. They were like pastel-ish and with some speckles, and they were like beautiful bright like spring colors, and it really made me want to kind of dye some yarn myself. Oh, but I do not have time for yet another hobby. I have way too many already. So instead I will do all I can to enjoy the sock yarn I have, and I will do my very best not to buy any more yarn until June, when the next yarn market is. Up until that point I will try and restrain myself. I have also decided that this weekend we are going to IKEA to buy a bookshelf for the living room, and when we're there I'm also going to buy more inserts into this bookshelf, so I can get my yarn more organized, and I will also get a few baskets, I guess, so I can get the leftover yarn stash more organized. So yeah. Also, I forgot to say, since this yarn is Sandnes Garn Double Sunday, this one is in the color Lilac, and I'm totally out of it. I have no more of it. But I do have a lot of Double Sunday left over from all the hats I knit last year. And I have been planning for ages that I was going to knit up a leftover yarn sweater and use this mohair that I have here. I have two different types of mohair, or same mohair, two different colors. One is kind of like an icy blue and the other one is more like grey-green. And I was planning on like making stripes with mohair and then just knitting with random colors underneath. And eventually I decided I didn't want to, random colors underneath, but I could like try and organize them in a straight, in a sequence I liked. And the more I've been thinking about it, the more I've been thinking that I don't think I'm a leftover yarn sweater person. And also I have so much yarn, why force myself to figure out what to do with all the leftovers? Why does it have to become a sweater? I could instead make a scarf or a hat or anything else. Why do I have to make a leftover yarn sweater? I won't use it. I won't use this one other than today. Clearly that doesn't quite work. But like a scarf or something, that would be nice. Something I could just pick up, knit a bit on, put it away, not think about it. I could do leg warmers. I've been talking about leg warmers for ages because I don't often need leg warmers. But if I am wearing a dress and I have to go from point A to point B in the cold, it would be nice to have something I could slip over. And since I would take them off when I got to the event, it doesn't matter what they look like. They don't have to be like super stylish or super cute. They could just be random leftover things. And if I knit them up with mohair, they would also last a bit longer, because that's kind of my biggest grievance with this yarn. It doesn't hold up very well. But I mean, it is pure not mohair. Merino. What am I doing? It is pure merino. So without the structure of mohair, it kind of like falls apart eventually. It does pill a lot. So yeah. I'm trying to figure out what to do with my big bucket of leftover yarns. At the moment, that bucket is only double Sunday, because all my other leftover yarns are either in a bucket down here, or not a bucket, like a basket at the bottom, or in this bowl. And it's getting very full, so yeah, gotta do something with the leftovers. I have decided I'm not gonna cast on anything new unless it is to get leftovers out of my stash until I'm done with at least one sweater. And I would like to get the pair of socks done before I start with a new pair of socks. I have figured out that only having one pair of socks on the needles at a time is probably the way to go for me, or else I will divide my sock knitting time between two different socks, and one of them will eventually get more attention than the other, and probably under the yoke socks will get more attention because the gauge is bigger, so it goes faster, all of that. So yeah. Yes. That's all the yarn related stuff I have to tell. Other than that, I did get my hair done last week. I finally got my undercut fixed, and that was really nice because I really needed it. And we also had a work party on Friday. I was super tired on Friday. I had really struggled falling asleep, so I felt like I hadn't slept at all when I went to work on Friday. The rest of the week I had home office, but on Friday, because of the work event, I kind of felt like I had to go to the office in the morning and then just stay there through the event. But I was so tired. I could barely keep my eyes open, and eventually after we had eaten and they started talking about doing party games, I was like, I'm out, I'm gonna go home. And then as I left the office on my way to the bus stop, I was like, I'm gonna take the bus the other way than I usually do, so I can just go to a yarn store and check if they have the yarn I need. This one. And they did, thankfully. And also they had this. That's probably why I ended up buying it. I was too sleep deprived to be able to stop myself. Oh, this is so squishy. I love it. I just, yeah. So that was Friday. I came home not that late, but late enough. And I struggled to keep myself awake. And I just ended up going to bed at the same time as my husband. So we went to bed at like 9. My husband, he goes to bed at 9 on work days because he has to get up at 5 in the morning. On Friday he was just too tired to stay up late. So both of us just went to bed. And then on Saturday morning, we went to the store to buy the things we needed for dinner and breakfast, and dinner and breakfast the day after because on Sundays the stores are closed. And when we came home, we ate breakfast, and then we just cleaned the entire house because we were going to have guests over for dinner, and they hadn't seen our new apartment yet, so we knew we had to do the grand tour. I can't even say it properly. So we wanted to present our apartment in the best possible light. So instead of doing what we usually do when people come over and shove everything into the bedroom, we actually did like a proper both clean up and tidy up, which was very nice because our cat has tendency to, however well we vacuum and wash everything, she always finds whatever dust we didn't find and drags it out into the light. And she does that because she loves to eat it. And of course she gets enough hairballs already because she has like long fur. But the past few days I have seen her try desperately to find some dust, and she hasn't found any. And it makes me so happy because it means we actually did a really good job. Like we actually found all the normal hiding spots and were able to like dig it all out. Very good. And it's nice having a properly clean home. It's not just it's not like it's super dirty normally, but as very rarely everything is clean at the same time. We usually do like a little bit every day, so when you get to the end of the week you kind of like have to start over. But for once, like today I didn't feel like I had to clean anything because everything was already clean. And also I had a late meeting at work today, so we got dinner at work to like compensate for the extra hour. And it was very nice. So yeah. So the kitchen is still clean, I'm well fed, the cat is well fed, though she won't admit it. So yeah, it has worked out quite well. Now it is quite late today. Earlier today, my husband got the package that we've been waiting for, which was a computer part. And he needed my help because I have a lot smaller hands than he does. And trying to like do computer stuff like physically is very hard when you have big hands. So while we were waiting for the package, we were just gaming and having some fun, and then when the package came we took out his computer and took it apart and replaced the parts that needed to be replaced, and had some frustrations with the computer, which always happens when you have to like remove parts and insert new ones. But eventually everything worked out. He took the computer back to his office and put it together, or like connected all the wires again, and turned it on, and everything worked fine. So we were like, okay, we didn't break anything. And he started testing out some of the games that we had tried to play previously that when a computer was just a tiny bit too slow. And now it worked quite fine. So I'm hoping that, because this was just initial starting up the game and see that like it worked better than before. So I'm hoping that as we continue to play, that his computer will continue to keep up, and yeah, we won't have the frustrations we have had previously when we've been trying to play some specific games. So yeah. That meant I did start filming a lot later than I had planned. Also, I had to rearrange my office a tiny bit. I tried to go back to a previous setup for how I wanted the computer or the camera to be, but that meant the camera would be very far away and I would be a very small part of the frame. And I figured, no, the new setup was better. I just had to like rearrange a bit again. So yeah, I do think this is a good setup. I just have to spend some time before filming every week to set it up. It takes It doesn't take a lot of time, but it takes a bit of effort. So yeah. So I do hope that you have enjoyed this video, and that if you liked the video you could give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say, so thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.